I watched Team Flash's 𝐒𝐏𝐸 play Griff for 3 hours, and this video is a culmination of all the things that I learned. We'll talk about how to maximize Griff's attacks, his gadgets, and cover some general combat and his strategy, and that's the video. Enjoy. We'll start off by taking a look at Griff's basic attack. His basic attack fires out 9 coins in a burst of 3, and it also has a light spread. Each coin does about 300 damage, potentially dealing about 2700 damage if every coin hits. Due to the light spread, you're probably going to have to fire at a near point blank range if you want to hit the maximum potential damage. Similar to Pam's basic attack, you can maximize your damage output by using the center of the cone to aim and leading the shot by mirroring the movement of your opponent. Take note that the shots are in a 3 burst, allowing you to lead enemies in either direction, making it easier to place the next shot. One drawback about his main attack is that it takes time to unload. Higher burst damage potential brawlers such as Surge can easily take out Griff before he has time to retaliate. This drawback also puts Griff at a significant disadvantage against a brawler like Stu. High mobility coupled with burst damage allows Stu to easily defeat Griff while dodging most damage. You can mitigate this weakness by keeping the fight at a distance, where Griff has the upper hand. He can output higher and more consistent damage at these ranges compared to these brawlers. Now let's take a look at Griff's super. Griff's super fires off a cone of 5 notes in an extremely wide AoE. The notes spin on the spot for about a second before it returns to him. Damage is done in 2 instances, when the notes are spreading out and upon returning. Each note can only deal damage twice per enemy. This is a very important point when you are facing Griff. Try to avoid walking into multiple notes if you want to minimize damage taken. The damage per card is calculated based on the distance that it travels. At a short distance, it does the lowest possible damage, and at the long distance, it does the highest possible damage. This doesn't mean that you shouldn't use your super at the close range. Enemies that are often close to you will take damage from more notes. For example, if all 5 notes make contact at the point blank range, you can deal up to 2300 burst damage.
Now that's a lot of damage!
If you're able to hit a target at the maximum distance, both instances of damage are dealt almost at the same time. This deals roughly about 1800 damage just by hitting a single card at the maximum distance. In both cases, this allows his super to be used as a potent finisher at all distances. Its wide area of effect makes it hard for enemies to escape, guaranteeing takedowns on weakened enemies. To maximize the value of your super, try to hit multiple targets or hit targets that are close enough to take multiple notes worth of damage. This allows you to recharge your super much faster, becoming a bigger threat to your enemies. One small trick: while waiting for your notes to return to you, you can actually mirror your opponent's movement to try and curve the angle that the notes return. This limits your opponent's chances of escaping the return damage. So apparently there's a fairly broken trick with Griff's super that allows you to do an insane amount of damage in a specific situation. Basically, if you're able to fire your super at point blank while your opponent is next to a wall, you deal every possible instance of damage at the same time. This also instantly recharges your super, so any enemy that survives the first super will definitely fall to the second. Finally, let's take a look at Griff's gadget. Griff's gadget plants an exploding piggy bank that destroys terrain in a 2-tile radius, dealing 1000 damage to any enemy's court. It has a long casting animation and an even longer delay before exploding. The long delay makes it nearly impossible to deal damage with it. The much more obvious application is as a reliable wall break. To get maximum value, you have to plant the gadget within a 1-tile distance of the wall of choice. Unfortunately, this does mean that you have to walk up to the wall, putting yourself in a much more dangerous position. Enemies can easily flank you while you're attempting to break, or shoot you as you retreat. Ideally, you should only plant the gadget when your team has control over the area. Avoid trading your life just for a wall break. As with any wall break, Griff's gadget can be a useful strategic resource. Its usage, however, is highly situational, depending on the map and the matchups. This goes without saying, but think very carefully before choosing to do wall breaks, as they are permanent. As the loss of cover affects both teams, it is your job as a Griff to figure out whether the wall break is good or bad for your team. More details about this in the general strategy. Taking into account everything we've discussed thus far, let's take a look at Griff's general combat and strategy. Griff is a powerful area control brawler that functions best at the mid to long range distance. His combat is relatively straightforward. Let's take a look at how he deals with different types of matchups. Against the likes of long-range sharpshooters such as Piper, Brock or Belle, Griff is actually at a disadvantage. Those brawlers just have a little bit more range that allow them to hit shots without getting damaged. To deal with this, we can try to kite backwards as you attack so you can dodge their shots at the maximum range, hoping that they walk into your shots. Or, alternatively, you can try to dodge up and deal bursts of chip damage while charging your super. In both cases, once your super is charged, you can use it at the maximum range as the final punch to finish them off when they drop below the 1800 HP threshold. The other option is to avoid the firefight entirely. Use cover and concealment to sneak up on them and then use your superior burst damage to bring them down. Against mid-range brawlers like Sandy or Tara and tank brawlers such as Primo or Bull, Griff has a huge matchup advantage. The range advantage means that Griff can output insane amounts of damage while charging his super on these targets with relative ease. There isn't really a technically challenging aspect to this matchup. Just try to hit every single shot as you kite them back slowly and use your super wherever it's applicable. This shouldn't pose a challenge for anyone, given that your basic shots are pretty wide and your super is the size of the kitchen sink. Throughout the course of your games, keep an eye out for those high value supers where you can hit more than one target. Coupled with a few well placed shots, your super can become a spammable weapon of mass destruction. The main strategic decision that Griff players have to make has to do with whether to open the map. Terrain destruction is a pretty complicated and big topic that deserves its own video, but for the purpose of this video, we'll give you the simplified Griff-only version. Assuming we're only focusing on your matchup with your opponent in lane, here's how you should make every decision. Against mid-range, tank or thrower brawlers, you should definitely break the wall as early as possible. This allows you to capitalize on your range superiority, establish dominance and win the lane. Against longer range brawlers, you should probably make the opposite decision. Because of the slight range difference, consider leaving cover intact so that you can push up further in position to even out the range difference. In most cases, they will still eventually break the wall using their own abilities. The hope is that by that time, you would have already charged up one full super, which will be crucial in combat against them. So, how do I feel about Griff after watching all this Griff footage? I think he's a little bit strong. His damage values and super recharge rate may have to be tweaked. I think he fits very nicely with the pool of brawlers that benefit from wall breaks. I think competitively he's bound to see some level of experimentation, probably when Stu is banned because Stu is still a little bit too broken. Skill cap wise, I think Griff falls somewhere in the medium level, especially because of the decision making required for his wall breaks. Overall, I think he's a well designed brawler and I think you guys are gonna have loads of fun playing him. Anyways, that's all I've got for you for this video. I hope you guys learned something. If you guys want to support the channel, please leave a like and subscribe. If you guys want to see more Brawl Stars content, do leave a comment down below and let me know what other Brawl Stars things you think I should cover. Thank you guys for watching and I'll see you guys in the next one.